You should know. It is easier for some of us to say supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, or is that supercalifragilisticexpialidocious? You know what I'm trying to say. It's easier for some of us to say that word than it is for us to say no. Why is that? And what is that costing us? What is our adversarial relationship with the word no truly costing us? And I mean hearing the word no, as well as delivering or expressing the word no. Now, I am a triple fellowship trained, board certified psychiatrist, and that is probably why you think you should pay attention to me, but it's not. The reason you should pay attention to me is because I know a little something about yes. Yes, would you? Yes. They don't even get to get the whole question out before I say yes. Would you? Oh, yes, I would love to. And then in the wee hours of the night, while everybody in my house is resting and I'm up doing what I said yes to, I'm thinking, what in the world did I get myself into? And then I get mad at the people that I said yes to because they should have known that I was too busy to do that. I mean, I'm a mother, I'm a sister, I'm a wife, I'm a psychiatrist, I'm an author. When am I supposed to have time to do what you just asked me to do? And so I resent them because I think they should just know. And then they say what my husband says. I ain't no mind reader. I only know what you told me. Excuse me, grammarians and teachers, that's how we talk in my house. In any event, the word yes is costing us rest, it's contributing to us having headaches, diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. Notice I said contributing and I didn't say causing, contributing. That stress that is associated with all of those yeses that we say, and then sometimes they don't even have to ask us, we volunteer. We volunteer before they get it. Yes, I would love to. How can I help you? Does that sound familiar to anybody? Let me tell you something about the word yes. It will get you sleepless nights. It will get you ulcers, and it will get you high blood pressure. And so that's why today I want you to know that you should know better. N-O. Know better. You should know better. Now, in my psychiatrist hat, I see people daily, and they will come in talking to me about how they are exhausted. They're tired. And then a couple of weeks later, they'll come back, and they'll tell me about a new task they've taken, and they're leading. And I'm just like, we just talked 2 weeks ago. What in the world are you taking on that new activity for? And do you know what they'll tell me? They will say, I didn't want to disappoint them. I didn't want to hurt their feelings. I didn't know how to say no. Honey, you should know better. Now, why do we have this adversarial relationship with the word no? I'm glad you asked. It didn't just come. As a toddler, we said no all the time. Have you talked to a toddler lately? So what happens between the time that we were a toddler till we reach our 20s, our 30s, our 40s? Something happens. And often it happens in our childhood, but we've not paid too much attention to it. Now, I navigated down memory lane to look at my relationship with no. Now, I don't want you to judge my family harshly when I tell you this story, even though I judged them harshly when I thought about the story, but I want you to give them some grace. Okay, we're from Stamps, Arkansas, home of Maya Angelou. Yes, I lived in her house for a while, but in rural Arkansas, population 3,000, there is some mother wit that happens. And the mother wit goes something like this. Children are to be seen and not heard. If I want your opinion, I will give it to you. You heard that? If you can't say nothing nice, don't say nothing at all. Yes. And so do you see how that no is highlighted? Somewhere along the way, we equate no with not being nice. Now, let me tell you when I equated the word no with being unsafe to say. 8 years old, Christmas Day, I get a Commodore 64. You all don't know what that is. That's the knockoff Atari. And I have a game, Catnip. That's the knockoff Pac-Man. And I love that game. And so I was playing it over and over and over. And my brother said, I want to play. And I astutely, with great wisdom, said, nuh-uh, no, nope, nada, no. Because you see, he pulled the heads off my dolls. He burst my drum set, left a big old hole in it. And so I was no fool. I knew where this was going. I said no. My aunt plopped me. And I realized that saying no to my brother, not a good idea. Auntie want to give me a hug, and you know she smells bad and you don't want to give her a hug, and so you frown up and say no, and then they tell you, give them a hug anyway. Somebody wants you to sit in their lap, you don't want to sit in their lap. And so I learned as a child that I didn't have agency, and no was not safe. It was nothing nice. If you can't say nothing nice, this is Mama's Everywhere USA. Don't say anything at all. Now, I told you about my experience of no, and the body remembers your experiences. But let me share with you the science of no. When we have to say no and we don't have practice at it, there's a neurochemical reactivity that happens in our bodies, and we release these chemicals, like cortisol and different things. And those chemicals light up a part of our brain that is the same part that lights up when we're experiencing physical pain. And so it's not just our memories, but our body does not like the word no. But do you know what happens when we say yes? When we say yes, there's a dopamine rush. We like saying yes. Yes is the reward activating system. It's the reward activating system. And it feels good to say yes. It feels good to be affirmed. It feels good for people to say, good job. We like that. Do you like that? Yeah, until you have to deliver what you just said yes to. Now, Maya Angelou said, do the best you can until you know better. And then, when you know better, do better. Dr. Mattox says, do the best you can until you know better. And when you know better, know better. You should know better. Now, I know that you're thinking, whenever you even think about it, maybe you feel that in your tummy. But let me just tell you, when you know better, you get better opportunities. And I stumbled upon my no. And let me tell you, it felt good. Now, I need you to understand, I stumbled upon this no at the most inopportune time for my director. Yes. So he invites me to brunch with someone that you all probably don't know. His name is Neil Bauer. Do we have any Law and Order Special Victims Unit fans in here? Do we have any ER fans in here? He was the executive producer for Law and Order Special Victims Unit, and he was creating a character who was going to be a neuropsychologist that specialized in HIV. And they were inviting me out because I had this media research background, and they wanted me to work with Neil as a medical media consultant. Now, first of all, I didn't even know there was such a thing because I had only been in LA for a month. So I didn't even know that thing existed. And I was excited about the opportunity. Who wouldn't want to work with the executive producer of Law and Order Special Victims Unit? And so as we're having this conversation, I'm having a conversation with God. Now, I don't want you all to think I'm crazy, but I talk to God sometimes. And so it was like, well, why do you want to do it? And quietly I said, because it can open doors for me. And in my spirit, I heard, I open doors no man can close. And so I wanted to say yes, but I hear myself saying no. And Ken Wells, who is my director at the time, I can see his face getting bright red, and I can tell that he's thinking, no, what are you doing? And so I said no. And Neil is the kind of person that everybody is really wanting to work with. And I've just told Neil no, and he's computing, and he is not accustomed to that. And so he said, might I ask why? And I said, my desire is to work on stigma-free scripts and help tell stories of people living successfully with mental health and mental illness. And Neil said, I know somebody. And he connected me with Sandra DeCastro Buffington, who worked at Hollywood and Health Society. And I got to work on these amazing scripts, 90210. And we worked so well together. We worked on an episode of 90210 called Off the Rails, and they got an award for that, an Image Award for that. And I felt really good. But I would not have been able to do the work that aligned with my soul had I jumped at the opportunity to work with Neil on something I was not remotely interested in working with Neil on. Now, why do I tell that story? Yeah, I'm flexing just a little bit, but it's relevant because we have to understand that we do the best we can until we know better. And when we know better, we know better. And when we know better, that know gets us in alignment with the things that we want to do. Now, I think of the word know as navigating opportunities, navigating overcommitment, navigating overwhelm, while owning your priorities, owning your purpose. And so when an opportunity presents itself, you go back and you ask yourself some questions. Does this get me closer to what I say my priorities are? Family, faith, career advancement, what have you. Or does this take me further away? Does this get me closer to working with someone I would love to work with and gaining some new skill sets? Or does this take me further away? When I was a fellow, everybody wanted to work with me. And I thought it was because I was brilliant and smart. No, they wanted free labor out of me. And my mentor, Dr. Greer Sullivan, started talking to me about being intentional about what my goals were and how this got me closer to my goals. And so I say to you, when you are deciding, should I say yes or should I say no, you have to know what your priorities are so that you can decide if you should say yes or you should say no. And I'm telling you, you should know better. Now, I understand that teaching, that mother wit that our parents taught us, if you can't say nothing nice, don't say anything at all. I understand that's rooted in you, and we got to pluck it up. And you have to become the person, develop an identity of the person who can say no. But until you do, let me give you some tips. Now, remember, your knee-jerk reaction may be, yes, 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 yes. And the easiest place to start before you start saying no is to say, that sounds like a wonderful opportunity. I'll give that some thought, and I will get back with you if I can. Operative words, I will get back with you. That means don't you call me. I will get back with you. Now, my husband has modeled saying no effectively. He doesn't give any explanation or any such thing. And then our baby girl came along, and she's so cute. She has, her fingers may be small, but they are big enough to have him wrapped all the way around them. And so he struggles a bit with saying no to her. And so this is what he'll say. He'll say, let me give that some thought. We'll see. Now, I know we'll see is an adamant no, but she doesn't know that yet. But you can say, we'll see. Let me give that some thought. Now, you mosey on down to yes or no, and you can say something like this. Oh my gosh, your vote of confidence in me makes me feel so special. However, I'm not available. However, I have other priorities at this time. However, I'm not able to deliver to the extent of exceptional excellence that I'd like. Now, let me tell you a quick story. I said that to Nate Smith, Dr. Nate Smith, who is the former director of the Arkansas Health Department. And he came back on me with something I was not expecting. He said, anything worth doing is worth doing half. I clutched my pearls. Nate Smith is a minister. I wasn't expecting that. But do you know what he said? He said, your 20% is someone else's 200%. Do it. And so I say to you all, get familiar with the word no, because you should